Welcome back, Dota 2 fans. Game 3, Game 2, Game 3 minus 2. I don't know what's going on. Long day. Wheel versus VG.J Storm. VG.J up 1-0. Hope you guys are enjoying your Saturday. VG.J certainly queuing a bit of a comeback in the previous affair, as they were down rather considerably. 22 minutes in, actually, Arax eliminated from their base. Really nice combinations from Fleet and Snaking, keeping them in the game as far as their silences go on some key heroes. That being the Omni Knight and Disruptor for Wheel's side, and they will be bested in that first game.
Earth Spirit.
All right, so with first pick, Wheel going to take away, kind of deny the Francis Lee Earth Spirit, as well as banning out the Stand King IO. So we're going to kind of deny the comfort that VG.J Storm were able to assemble in the previous game. Snaking going to opt for the first pick Tiny alongside the Bane. So two very highly regarded heroes as far as, you know, the lanes go, as well as just the recent meta. With the Cleave, Tiny actually a pretty damn good laner. Able to kind of shove the wave out, harass his enemy. And of course, having the stun should render you rather survivable in general.
Vengeful spirits.
Wheel going to pick themselves up Avenge. So, no, I mean, this could, of course, be flexed to a 1 position, but no great lane support, per se, as far as, you know, zoning and harass goes. Vengeful Spirit, rather feeble attack range early on. Does, of course, have the stun to provide. And Earth Spirit has a great toolkit, but doesn't necessarily want to hang around in lane statically in the early game, so we'll see how they opt to lane this when all is said and done. CK banned by Wheel, PL banned as well, considering themselves rather single target heavy at this point.
I speak for the trees.
All right, so we kind of talked about the theme of the lanes with these first couple of picks in Tiny and Bane. Nature's Prophet certainly continuing that trend here for VG.J. Snaking will probably be the one to pick up the Prophet. And Witch Doctor is the response from Wheel. So we do have a core Venge, more than likely, for their side. And this is more of the kind of stable laning support that we identified them as missing in the first two. All right, Gyro for Yawar here, more than likely, and VG.J Storm. Going to be very difficult to deal with in the early going. A lot of strong laners here. Bane, Gyro, in and of themselves, a pretty scary task to fill for any offlaner. A lot of damage available to them in the early game, and Tiny can now kind of provide that bit of siege that otherwise this lineup may have lacked patches ago. Of course, they do have the Nature's Prophet. Gyro can flack off the tower, clear waves in that manner. They do feel slightly disabled light, the VG.J Storm side, but certainly can kind of rectify that shortcoming in their 5th pick. Will have a ton of disable. Not much wave clear at the moment, though. So wouldn't be surprised to see something like a Sand King or a Lina. Sand King is actually banned.
Tide Hunter.
We'll pick up the Tide for now. He's kind of one way to deal with a large amount of units from the Nature's Prophet and kind of tank those up. Jump forward, clear the wave. Fiend's Grip is a decent way to deal with the Tide, as is the Nightmare, and just kind of ignore him. But other than that, really like how the hero's been utilized recently as sort of this frontline tank. You know, like a Necrophos or a Timbersaw in lane. Can't leave your safe laner alone, especially if it's a... well, it'll be a gyro in this case, so perhaps you could leave it alone against the Tide. So still looking more than likely for Sand King's hero here as they ban out the Death Prophet. A lot of control, silence, you know, the Nether Swap, the Voodoo Restoration, the Ravage. So a lot of things to kind of enable a Death Prophet here. And they do pick up the Templar Assassin. So this was, you know, something that I also contemplated when I mentioned the Lina as far as wave clear goes. Figured with, you know, Prophet, Gyro having a lot of kind of ticks of damage, even though they're not damage over time, that they might forego this pick. But it feels for the most part, you know, these Tide and Templar Assassin can kind of push out waves feeling rather safe, considering the heroes that they should have behind them. And VG.J Storm, they're just going to go directly for the 7/4/7 Venomancer, which is going to mean Flea is actually in the 4 position Nature's Prophet. So a very interesting kind of diversion at the end of this draft coming out from Snake King, but just a direct counter to YJS's TA. Now, maybe something to mention. I mean, Kraken Shell can purge Gale now, but I still doubt that they end up putting this Tide Hunter mid. Just feels way too dicey for the Venge or TA to be in the offlane. So VG.J Storm looking for the 2-0 sweep of Wheel. Wheel looking to take this to a Game 3 decider. And 5th pick, 7/4/7 Venomancer. Also helps facilitate the push as well. I mean, you've got your Plague Wards, you've got your Treants, and you've got the Tiny, who can now do a ton of building damage even early into the game. So, Game 2, guys, the Galaxy Battles 2. This is a major qualifier. And in this Group B, these two teams looking for an opportunity to make it to the finals. Beyond these finals, Complexity Gaming awaits them in Stage 2. You can check out kind of the format on Liquipedia. It's a little bit of a unusual one with the 2 stages, but basically Optic and Complexity were direct invites. They await Stage 2. You know, these 4 teams are in a double elim in Stage 1 to make it through to that second stage. 2 groups of 4 teams, that is. Tail solid indeed. Make sure to boil your kale, boys and girls. As oxalic acid, not good for you. I know he meant kale, but, you know, there was no space. No space between ka and le. Don't click that link, boys. It's bait. So, Fleegan opt for the first item, Blightstone, to do a little bit of trading. This should be a fun early game with the Prophet in the 4. Snake King going to pick up the Tiny, and we'll have Bane accompany him for the early going. And Yawar will be on the Gyrocopter. Smoke movement down from Wheel's side. QM going to lead the way. Safe lane, Vengeful Spirit. Picks up the Circlet. Kind of like me, maybe. I mean, he could just use this towards Aquila. It's fine. I was going to say last game, I think I saw Perseverance Ultimate Orb when it was Perseverance Soul Booster. Who knows? I'll go back and check the replay, but the old magic stick. Now afforded by a mango. Magic wand, I should say. Why just back to block his lane. As the remainder of his lineup looking to find first blood. Bottom, doesn't look like anyone will bite the bait from VG.J Storm's side. But they will forfeit over this bottom side boundary rune. Still, though, they'll get 2 top lane.
What have we here?
So, sort of a standard trade when all is said and done. And Snake King for now will be the one in the bottom lane. Looks like an aggressive tri-lane consisting of the Venge, Witch Doctor, and Moose's Earth Spirit. Snake King going to play rather safe. And look at this range, this melee range early on. What a hero, boys and girls. Doesn't get Magic Missiled up. Rolling Boulder will find Snake King as well. And they'll throw the Casket. It'll only bounce once, of course, and flee with the Blightstone, actually doing tons of damage to Derp. Snake King forced to salve up, but the Nature's Prophet rotations in are going to ensure that they don't tower dive for this Tiny. And the Cleave just doing work for him. Meanwhile, top lane, Stand King as well as Yawar teaming up to pressure the Tidehunter. But he will be able to salve on the wayward side of that fight. Thinking picks up his level 2. Meanwhile, true 1v1 in the mid lane. Ryoya 747 versus YJS. And in fact, YJS getting the better of him early on. But as 747 begins to level, you would expect he should have fun in this lane. Homing Missile going to fly out top lane, and nice body blocks from Yawar as well. They need another Rocket Barrage, though, and don't have it. And with the Anchor Smash, I don't know that... Oh, there's the Rocket Barrage. They will have it now. Still, though, with the damage reduction, they don't get the kill on the Tidehunter. And in the meantime, Flea's Nature's Prophet taking out bot lane. So first blood going to go the way of Wheel here. A couple minutes in, and they'll pick up a couple of bounty runes bottom lane as well.
Just what the doctor ordered.
Flea holding a skill point here at level 2. Can just kind of run at you and sprout you, I guess. Bottom lane looking to pincer in Snaking. Magic Missile will fly out. Rolling Boulder is there once again with the slow. Nice toss back onto the Earth Spirit. Cask will bounce only once onto Snaking, and the Avalanche will keep him safe. Pick himself up a tree and tango another and get to work. Meanwhile, Flea in the mid lane, and this is kind of what we were talking about as levels come through. Poison Sting level 2 now for 747. And this noob Observer will get a bare glimpse of that return kill from VG.J Storm's side.
Stop it.
Ours.
And now CS more or less at parity in this mid lane. smoke up Moose and Derp. Gonna look to get to work. 747 trying to widen the gap in this mid lane, trying to gain an advantage, and they're gonna look to address that issue. 747 a little far forward. Has a salve. Derp level 1 cask. And he is actually going to pop the salve here. So cask going to fly out. Rolling boulder will be there as well. And with the boulder smash, Gale should not save him. Maledict was down as well. Derp will drop a ward in the mid lane. And they'll get WESG a revenge kill as he picks up the last hit on 747. They've moved QM to the top lane now, feeling perhaps as if they've accomplished their mission bottom against Snaking. And responsively, VG.J Storm will flex their lanes. Now, perhaps in a bit of trouble is Moose. I mean, he's got to roll away, though.
Double damage.
Snaking. Making his way up to top. And Rua scouted mid with this high ground ward. But Stan King with a DD. Thinking about going in bottom on this Tide Hunter. Can just start to trade with him. Gets anchor smashed up, however. And we'll continue to right-click away. Homing missile coming through. He's got a brain sap. It's only level 1, but with that double damage, this should be a kill. Flat cannon coming through, and the homing missile finishes off the Tide. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, they do get Rioya, and they might get Flea as well. Rioya does bling down the Earth Spirit with some ticks, but why just killing him off again on the Templar Assassin? And Cheeky is Flea here. Nope. Well, that's not what we want to happen to your treants. Nice last hit there. Overall, feels like Wheeler pretty happy with how the mid lanes ended up going, considering the matchup on paper. Snaking, though, finding his levels on the Tide Hunter is level 5. And only 1 core on the Dire side. Can say that at the moment, although QM should find this is relatively soon. So Derp rotating in, and again, looking to set up on Snaking here. Gonna throw out the tree, but gets cast, and Magic Missile. They'll have a roll as well. Boulder Smash is there. He gets the Avalanche off. Maledict should kill him no matter what, but they won't even need it. Meanwhile, mid lane, maybe looking to go in on the TA was Stan King, but he could be in trouble now. Has stick charges and is a Bane, so should be killed off, at least not solo, by the Earth Spirit. But Moose will chase him. Get out of my lawn! Now out of the mid lane. And TPing into that mid lane is Snaking. Now with Flea, they'll try and body block up WESG. Won't be that easy to do, however. And one of the treants going to end up dropping there to the side blades. Sonic Trap going to be thrown down in the trees. No building trades found anywhere, but I mean, VG.J Storm, they haven't necessarily made anything happen with this rotation mid just yet. And preparing a defense is Wheel's side, as they've TP'd in quite a few different heroes. 2-3-0 build for Rioya, so no point in the Plague Wards just yet to aid in this push. And this is kind of the wave clear I was mentioning in the draft screen, TA. So very efficient as far as wave clear goes. And wisely, Flea going to throw a treant up on the high ground to help enable this push. He's actually going to TP top to look to repel the push being queued up by the Vengeful Spirit. Derp nearby has level 2 cask ready. And they'll throw out some treants to try and get some scouting information here, and that will prompt the retreat. Gale is going to fly out from 747. He gets off the Poison Nova onto 4, but they don't really have much follow-up. Avalanche will connect onto a few, but yeah. We'll just end up dying. Toss going out. And maybe with the poison attack, yeah, Moose should just be dead here. And he does end up dropping. Meanwhile, call down going to be used bottom lane by Yawar. It's just a little bit of trading with the Tide Hunter. We talked about kind of what it's like to be up against Tide Hunter. And that is pretty much it in a nutshell.
Illusion.
He just stands right in your face. Not going to kill you necessarily, but you can't kill him. And mid lane, Wheel finding themselves a good team fight. as 747's dropped 3 times already in this game. Half of the kills that Wheel have been able to net have been on that Venomancer in the mid lane.
What have we here?
Flea 113 level 5 on the Prophet has the phase boots, so the bare necessities are there for the Prophet. He kind of anticipates the magic missile and is going to be able to make it bound. Now the Avatos there from Snaking. Nice swap away from QM, trying to get away from the Tiny. They throw, and nice Sprout is going to be there. They throw the tree. Wave of Terror is going to be there. Toss into the air, though, will sound the death of the Vengeful Spirit. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, Yawar in a lot of trouble, so looks like either side going to trade safe laners here. He'll go for the TP out, and he's not quite tanky enough, as he does end up dropping. If only he could attack through that TP animation, maybe get a little lifesteal there. 747 mid lane looking to body back YJS. And Snaking working on this wave top lane. One for one build from Snaking. Perhaps just being in the off lane felt the toss was more valuable. Saw him toss back the Earth Spirit there. And Scan is going to find Stan King in the bottom lane. He gets the Nightmare off onto the Earth Spirit, but should just delay the inevitable here. He'll get the Brain Sap off and, you know, hang around as long as he can. Meanwhile, YJS finds a kill on Ryoya. 747 in the mid lane. Ends up going down. It looks like YJS was able to TP out. So that is a bit of a loss.
What have we here?
And they're going to lose their tier 1, more than likely bottom as well. They do take the tier 1 opposite the map with Snaking and Flea. And we'll start to pressure the tier 2 here, but shouldn't get all that much significant damage done before there's a response mounted here by Wheel. And that will be the response. It'll be the Nox Tidehunter TPing in. Snaking was able to dodge the Anchor Smash. And again, is able to do so. So let's put some damage into this Tidehunter, but will be able to TP out. Now mid lane, Wrath of Nature going to fly through, and they will be able to rotate in there. We have War Gyrocopter. Homing Missile connects onto YJS. Do they have detection, though? They don't at the moment. Cass going to fly over, bounce between these couple of heroes. YJS going to throw out the Meld Strike, get back into the Meld, but doesn't actually pop the Salve. And now with the Venomous Gale, yeah, just going to throw out a right click. Dust's going to fly through from the high ground. Flea is there. And one more tick from the little gun of the gyro. Brings down YJS's TA. A much needed kill. A 3x kill streak there on the TA. And all that gold going to Yawar. Good amount of experience going the way of that foursome of heroes as well. We're going to throw out the Gale mid lane. Does connect onto the Venge. Who's not all that farmed. Well, I suppose, you know, she did spend some time in the bottom lane early on. But yeah, second overall net worth after the death of the TA. And triple stack prepared for the TA here. And with 3 kills in his pocket, Yawar, the most farmed here on the map, has the Mask of Madness to help continue to propel himself forward as far as farm goes. Easy last hit for Snaking. We'll get clipped with the Wave of Terror there mid lane, as most of the Wheel lineup going to convene. YJS working on that triple stack of Ancients. And looking for a Blink Dagger. Smoke up, Snake King, Stan King, the Kings, making their way uphill, but YJS is positioned perfectly at the moment. And they'll pop the drums as the smoke gets popped. They'll drop down a sentry, but they will not find anyone. Stan King can get themselves some vision, though, and they will start to pressure this tower. Snake King having the tree in hand, Flea rotating in, and Ryoya present as well. Tidehunter gonna TP in, and everyone gonna run here. from the VG.J Storm side. They did not have the gyrocopter, and he is the bulk of their magic damage here early on, at least burst-wise. I mean, you of course have the Poison Nova, but it is a big piece of the puzzle to be missing as far as the VG.J Storm team fight goes, and he is a massive chunk of their net worth as well. Trying to finish off some of WESG's Ancients here, and seeing him on the high ground. Oh, he may just pay. Wrath of Nature gonna fly through, but it is not gonna help, as this trio of heroes more than enough to kill off the gyrocopter again, though, almost as if they're linked by soul. The Vengeful goes down. In this case, perhaps you could say more worth it for the wheel, as the gyro was worth more, but it also means a tower for VG.J, so that doesn't tip the scales. Soul Ring for the Tidehunter, but beyond the Hood of Defiance, no major teamfight item worked on here. No mech, no blink. But they are setting up bottom lane, as Vengeful going to TP in, roll forward from the Earth Spear, not going to find much. TP out on the east side, and from Flea, and TP on the west from Stan King. And a successful extraction bottom lane by VG.J's side. After farming up some of those stacks, WESG on the TA does have the blink and is about a quarter of the way to the Deso. A quarter of the remaining gold, I should say. 3,200.
Regeneration.
Looks like you are. Wanted to get that flak cannon off. That just popped the mask a little early. I don't know. Siege creep mid lane, and Vengeance Aura level 2 here, so WESG and QM gonna get to work on this tower. Top lane, they do see the Tidehunter. Stan King is nearby with a grip, but they don't have all that much damage in addition. Ryoya, no Poison Nova available. So, tier 1 conceded mid lane. Snaking finds himself a haste. He's gonna be under dire vision, however, as he grabs himself a tree and makes his way towards the tier 2 top. Stan King trying to make it out, is going to get swapped, magic missiled, and right clicked. And now TP in from the Tidehunter bottom lane is going to force TP out from Flea. Snaking in trouble, does have the haste. It's just going to toss up the Earth Spirit in the air and get to running. Now Rolling Boulder perfectly placed by Moose, almost doing his best Flea impression. And they will connect with the magic missile, although not with the Boulder's smash. And Snaking just going to accept his fate in the top lane. So we'll have looked good in this last little bit. And Radiant Vision does give them notice to this Vengeful movement, but not the one underneath. That is Derp's Witch Doctor. A Plague Ward will be there. Do they get off the Poison Nova in time, though? He will. He may just die, however, to this Death Ward. And indeed, 747 perhaps overestimating his potential. As even with the Voodoo Restoration, he will end up killing off the Witch Doctor, but no disable offered from Flea, so really no chance to kill both those heroes. And a lot of physical damage from both the Death Ward as well as, you know, the Vengeful Spirits toolkit. First usage of that looked pretty effective. Already level 12, yet to see a Ravage in this one. But that's kind of the way Tidehunters have been played recently. It isn't about completely selling out on the Ravage anymore and having to win those team fights. Hero can scale, can tank, can push waves. You know, if they can force you to initiate on the Tide, then they have that bodes very well for them going forward in the team fight. Flea top lane. You're going to get the Sprout off onto the Vengeful Spirit, but no Disable nearby as, Nightmare, not the greatest cast range, and Fiend's Grip similarly just out of range there. So heads up TP out by the Vengeful Spirit, and perhaps a slight bit of anxiousness from Flea's Nature's Prophet. Couple of Ancients taken out here, called down, utilized by Yawar. He's got pretty much the full Manta now. Yeah, he's going to make his way up to the side shop. Secret shop, excuse me. Pick that up. Flea has gone for the Midas, so despite being in the 4 role, he should scale relatively well throughout this game. And, with Snaking being a tiny, having the tree, he should scale pretty well. So we may kind of be looking at a quad core versus a tri-core lineup in this one if 747 continues to keep pace, as he has died quite a few times in this affair. Flea in trouble here, bottom lane, has the phase boots and can try and TP out, but he's going to be Psionic trapped up. He's going to Sprout himself. We'll see if they expend the Ravage here for him, and they won't. Trying to bring the Courier over for, Vision, but again, I'm not sure what... Oh, okay, Plague Ward. 747 taken out, top lane. Dragonlance there, picked up by QM, so he felt more than statsy enough, tanky enough to take him out. Nightmare's going to go out and a grip onto the TA. Ravage, though, it's going to cancel that. Almost immediate. Connects onto 3. They'll bring down the Bane immediately. And 747. And he's not in this fray just yet. Yawar in trouble. Gets brought down. Does bring the TA with him. And Snake King able to blink back to safety. Now a TP in from 747. This could be trouble as a Gale connects onto 3. Snake King, he looks to get back. The cask, though, still bouncing through. And a beautiful boulder smash through 3 by Moose. Now Magic Missile on the low side into Snake King. Shrine popped up by Ryoya, but he's left all out on his lonesome. They do end up killing off the Venge with Snake King on the bottom side. Avalanche will be there as well, but this is just going to secure Snake King's death in addition to 747's. And Wheel going to take a decisive win in the bottom lane as, 3 heroes grouping up for Ravage. Never going to be ideal. And the first Ravage of the game is a massive one from O'Nox. Pipe keeping the unit pretty healthy too. They only lose YJS in that engagement. Unable to secure an objective off the back of it, but there really were no trades elsewhere for VG Storm, so Wheel still very content with how that panned out. Snake King thinking about it, top lane. But perfectly positioned once again. Moose ready to cancel this. And now TP in from Flea. Stand King going to actually maybe catch a glimpse of the Earth Spirit. Instantly silenced and stunned as well. Magic Missile and Boulder Smash coming through. They'll even bring YJS in. Now in trouble is Yawar, excuse me. He's going to Manta off away from the Meld Strike, but does end up dropping. And a couple of costly kills for VG.J as twice now their attempts at a Fiend's Grip kill have been thwarted and quickly. Snaking going to blink down to the south. Moo's unable to initiate. Just a fraction of a second late on the Earth Spirit. Medallion Shadowblade picked up by Flea. He is going to need to start getting the split pushing going. And Shadowblade should help in that regard. He does have a lot of kind of information available to him. Just throwing these treants around. And, perhaps even more important as a 4-position Nature's Prophet to do this sort of thing with your treants, as you are much more easily killable considering, the lack of farm that you may have relative to a core. So, big win for Wheel. They'll take the Roche and get the denial on the bottom lane. Roche perhaps a little more important, though. Actually, definitely not perhaps. Roche, very important here. Blink Deso available for YJS. They've got, you know, the Tidehunter just kind of throw him on the high ground and dare VG.J Storm to initiate on the Tide. So, does feel like VG.J, as much as they can, going to try and play tag, so to speak, with Wheel. Make their way around the map, avoid them as much as possible. Split push where they can. And only try and take kind of advantageous fights where vision or high ground position or something is proving to be a major advantage for them. Oh, Nox going to put a stop to the shenanigans in the top lane. GM bottom lane could be in trouble as Flea TP's in, has the Shadow Blade. It is nighttime, and we'll find QM. And this time, nobody to cancel this grip. As, yeah, it will be able to find it onto QM, and it doesn't look like any trades will be able to be found across the map for Wheel. So, for this time, they do get a clean kill with the Fiend's Grip. And taking the Bounty Rune and rolling away will be Moose. So, a really nice kill as far as timing goes for VG Storm, considering that they do have the Aegis for Wheel's side. So to get a kill now is to essentially delay any advantage that... Oh, YJS finds himself a courier. Set of wards on it. And he'll get that kill. Meanwhile, mid lane, Snake King could be in trouble. He's going to get silenced up, and a blink forward onto Stan King. Meldstrike does a lot of work here. Snake King trying to TP out, and he'll be able to do so. So everyone able to extract themselves from mid lane, and split push being queued up top lane as Yawar gonna call down on the creeps, drop his Manta Illusions, and, you know, try and put a little bit of work into this tower, although the wave should be pretty much dead before the siege creep is killed off. Mid lane with the Aegis in hand. I'm just gonna get to work. Jump forward, blink, toss back onto the TA. She blinks out though with her last couple refraction charges, and he will even get another refraction off. Now a roll forward though is gonna be away from the Gale, and a 3-man Ravage. It may have even hit 4. And Wheel, they're going to look to run over VG.J Storm here as Snake King limping back to base. Meldstrike, Maledict will finish him as Derp finds the kill. And VG.J, perhaps the fatigue starting to rear its ugly head for them. Although Flea is pushing in both side lanes, they do finally take out this tier 2. Snake King does have a buyback, will expend it here. They have one on 747, we'll see if he ends up using it just yet. Both side lanes being pushed in by the Nature's Prophet. They will use the 747 buyback, and Homing Missile going to fly out. Does connect. Avalanche will be on to 3. The Flak doing work as well. They try and toss back QM into the base, but Snake King, he's too far forward. He essentially feeds. Now Yawar may be in trouble. Poison Nova does connect onto 3, though. QM trying to TP out. They'll grip him from the high ground. And they will get the Vengeful Spirit. Now we're looking to chase 4 more. YJS does still have the Aegis. Manta is going to dodge the Meldstrike for Yawar. He can't really turn and fight, but will throw the Homing Missile out. Psionic Trap will be there. And Homing Missile does connect onto the TA. Sprout will keep her in place. Now she's forced down to the low ground, perhaps by accident. And could be in trouble trading with Stan King. Will just kill off the Bane, though. And still there is an Aegis on this TA. She will finally lose the Aegis. Derp does go down in the meantime. And Yawar able to TP away. Ryoya survived as well. So Treants do about, 80% damage on the top tower, and that's about it. However, it is Aegis expended, and no racks taken by Wheel. There were 2 buybacks utilized, however, by the Radiant side. So it is going to be 747's Veno as well as Snake King's Tiny buying back for that. Nonetheless, VG.J certainly showing signs of life. And Flea showing that, with, 4,300 gold now, he can certainly be a bit of a threat if the lanes aren't pushed out properly. And not too many heroes to push the lanes out for Wheel. Just really the TA. The Tide can do it, but rather slowly. No Maelstrom being queued up. Looks like Silver Edge or QM. Apologies, had to clear my throat there for a sec. Snake King looking to work on an AC is going to pick himself up a double damage rune. 747's got the Force Kaya Veil, so the necessities are present. BKB now picked up 10 seconds for Yawar. Could be a big power spike in his team fight ability, and seems that VG Storm going to look to make an impact here. They get the homing missile off. Ava will not be there as the Force Staff back onto the Tide, but he will be tossed up. Call down's going to be there. BKB pop by Yawar. Snaking, though, taking a lot of damage. Big silence coming through from Moose. Wrath of Nature, though, is going to do a lot of damage through almost the entire unit, and Fiend's Grip pretty much going to do nothing to the TA who was BKB'd up. Meanwhile, on the north side, they will find out Flea's Nature's Prophet, and it looks like they should just leave him for dead as the rest of VG.J Storm teeping out in horror, watching their poor Nature's Prophet be spilled, his blood be spilled. But they do use the 10-second BKB there and don't even force a Ravage. Like, very economic play from Onox, who withholds the Ravage there, seeing that the Gyrocopter had the BKB up, and it is a 10-second BKB for a 0-for-1 trade, essentially, for VG Storm. And perhaps, you know, best that they don't take fights in these side lanes, such that they don't really have a contingency plan with the Prophet pushing. Saw kind of awkwardly Flea hanging around on the Nature's Prophet here, and eventually found out and picked off. YJS has a Lincoln's, so can't see him get gripped up that easily. Flea does have the Maelstrom, but bot lane, he's in trouble. Oh, nice dodge, however, with the Shadow Blade. Good reaction from Flea. And Onox going to sarcastically spam well played as his teammates. They, in fact, even had a gem here on the Earth Spirit who didn't roll forward. And that's why you see the whoops. Oh, now they'll find Flea, though, with the Boulder Smash. Yeah, but that's why you saw the whoops in the chat, because the Earth Spirit chose not to roll despite having a gem. Either way, they'll get their man. And Flea, not an inconsequential kill at this point. I mean, he's third in net worth coming out of the 4 position. So, you know, Maelstrom and Midas will certainly see to that. And also the multitude of deaths that 747 has conceded. He's kind of relegated himself to a support role in some respects. I mean, still hanging around with the Tide and Venge as far as net worth goes. You are going to shove in top lane and throw some Manta Illusions at this tower, and this can be whittled to death, you know, if they don't respond to it. YJS, he'll be the first one in base. 2 siege creeps here. We'll see if they can get this tier 3. There is a glyph, and it looks like YJS should make pretty quick work of this. Yeah, not going to deny the first tier 3 of the game, surely. So that'll sit at 62 HP. But, you know, Flea working on bottom as well, slowly but surely, trying to take out these tier 3s. Unfortunately, well, they do have a Psionic Trap. I was going to say for the dire side, they may not see this Roche spawn. But they've got a trap in here. It's still about 1 minute and 20 until that Roche spawns, unbeknownst to the teams. Snaking now well on the way to the Ags, about 1,800 gold away. Has 400 towards that. As top lane, QM going to combo up with YJS to take out the long overdue tier 1. And working on the tier 2 now. And certainly without high ground advantage, VG.J Storm having none of these potential engagements. Flea going to push in bottom lane. And it looks like they're kind of setting up behind Flea, looking to bait this Prophet. Snaking and Yawar nearby. But just trying to find maybe safe farm on the map. And we'll TP back as soon as there is need for it. Flea again going to begin to chip away. at the tower. But Moose will be more than happy to clean up those tree ends, get himself a bit of gold. Working on a butterfly, Iwar is, and makes a lot of sense in this one. A lot of physical damage coming out from the dire side. Increasing his effective HP by quite a bit. Top lane. Tidehunter going to TP in, but me on the south side. Stand King just going to be found out as a present for the wheel side. Effectively, those tanking kind of the gank for Yawar and Snake King. So really not the biggest loss. As Flea makes his way down the bottom lane. Second Rosh of the game going to be taken by Wheel, and YJS going to pick up the Aegis there. She's in the hands of the Vengeful Spirit, so two already pretty difficult to kill cores going to get more so hard to kill. Mjolnir completed up here by Flea. But he could be a bit vulnerable, and 747 hanging around in this bottom lane as well. Does have the boots of travel. UM under the cover of Shadowblade mid lane, but does not engage forward. Okay, Sonic Trap out onto Snaking. He's going to go for the immediate TP out, and it ends up being a wise decision. Of course, Sonic Trap's now doing damage, canceling the blink there, so Snaking with a very heads-up play. Flea going to make his way down south with a Shadowblade. Almost thinks about right-clicking this creep, and just to the south of him was QM. So, bit of fortune, bit of good game sense from Flea. Not sure which of it was, but he's actually just in between the trees. QM forces here. Had he forced slightly towards this Psionic Trap, he would have discovered himself, Nature's Prophet, but Flea does end up surviving. Well, I say that, and I take it back. Desperately trying to drag this game out as Flea, and he's done a pretty admirable job to this point, but only a matter of time where a lineup containing Shadow Blades, Earth Spirits, Blinks will get after you. Alright, bot lane pushed in. Arcane Rune here for Snake King. And yeah, he can get to work as far as split push goes, but he is going to back. Flea is going to buy back. So, oh, the swap in. Can they burst him down before the Poison Nova gets off? Ghost Scepter is going to be there. Magnetize and Wave of Terror finishing off 747. He still has his ultimate. Now trying to get out is the entire lineup of Wheel. They will be able to TP one away, but the Tidehunter probably not so lucky. Homing Missile will follow him. Snake King in trouble, though. He's going to end up dropping 76 seconds on the sidelines, and the Tidehunter still alive. 747 going to connect with a Gale onto a few different heroes. We'll throw down some Plague Wards. Homing Missile going to fly out. Poison Nova only connecting onto QM. And not sure that they really want to pursue forward here. Why just ready and waiting in the wings, and he's going to find himself Flea. That is a dieback for Francis Lee, and it looks like we may be going to a Game 3 here, folks, with two heroes on the sidelines. No buyback. Swap down is going to find 747. He's going to get the Ghost Scepter off. Nightmare will be there. Call down connects on the back lines, but 747 should just die off here, as should VG.J's hopes of winning this Game 2. And Wheel showing some definite resiliency as they're able to trade games with VG.J Storm. That was VG.J's 7th game of the day as far as Pro Dota goes. Just very active recently with all the qualifiers going on, and perhaps a bit of fatigue showing here. 747 certainly did not have the game we expect of him, out of the mid lane, especially in a matchup like TA versus Venomancer. And he ends up 6-10-5. On the flip side of the coin, YJS 10-3-12 on the TA, and in excess of 700 GP and XPM. So Game 2 going to go the way of Wheel, and we will have a deciding game 3 in this one, folks. Both series today going to 3 games. Hope you guys have enjoyed your Saturday so far. We'll be back with game 3 shortly. MRP BTS VG.J versus Wheel. Welcome back, Dota 2 fans. Game 3. VG.J taking on Wheel Wreck while whistling, and Wheel squaring the series up at 1 apiece after Game 2. Really just seemed to take the biggest advantage out of the mid lane, where 747's Venomancer certainly disappointed in that second game. VG perhaps showing signs of fatigue, but I wouldn't read into that too much. They should be able to kind of pick up their socks and look sharp once again in this game 3. It is their 8th game of the day as far as Pro Dota goes. They did play a full 5-game best of 5 and lost in the 5th game, unfortunately, earlier in Midas mode. But hey, Midas mode all for fun and for charity. So shout out to the teams and to Moonduck for putting that together. Really great to watch. Again, we'll see the Stand King IO ban. Omni Knight and Sand King, the other 2 heroes, removed the pool. There's still a Wyvern left here. And the Bane as well. And VG.J will opt to go for the Bane first, even though it didn't necessarily work out for them swimmingly in the previous game with Stand King. I apologize for those of you watching in game who just heard me cough. I could only mute it on stream in time. A couple of solo casts will get your throat dry, let me tell you. Night Stalker is a hero that we haven't seen in the last few series, but certainly has been on a few teams' radars. Definitely been banned, but unable to slip through the pool just yet. A lot of ways to cancel Fiend's Grip, that's for sure. Already in this lineup, and that just adds another 4 ways between these 2 heroes to cancel that Fiend's Grip, I believe.
Tidehunter.
Now I'm questioning whether Glimpse cancels it. As I recall, it does, but I could be entirely wrong. I feel like displacing the Bane, he may continue to channel, but at least 3 ways. I don't know. Blame me on Reddit about it. Tidehunter pickup is once again seen, but this time by VG.J. And Snake King certainly very used to playing these tanky types of heroes. Kind of shifting gears in the last game, picking up the Tiny. But definitely more used to these Tidehunter types. Medusa ban once again from Wheel's side. Medusa and Tidehunter is just impossible to fight into. So, totally understandable. They already had the Omni removed in the first phase. Ursa going to be removed from VG.J Storm, essentially covering their bases as far as the Tide goes. You know, Nightmare is a decent way to deal with Ursa, but certainly not reliable. CK ban comes out from Wheel. They've certainly done their homework, as VG.J picked it in the first game, so they didn't have to look very far back. But something that the VG.J tends to run quite often, and often it's in tandem with the IO, but not always. So they warranted a lot of chase potential for this Wheel side already, but it seems like maybe in the first 2 picks that the response from VG.J is to assemble a lineup that does want to fight together and force you to fight 5v5 rather than being vulnerable to a sort of pick-off scenario. Profit ban from VG.J Storm comes out once again. Certainly a good way to deal with the Tide. Kraken Shell not going to help you all that much versus the Exorcism Spirits. in general, also just a kind of resilient mid laner. Bane can trade with a lot of mid laners. Death Prophet can trade with many heroes, period. So mulling it over, Wheel's side here, as likely their support duo showing. They are going to have last pick is Wheel, so not too uncommon that we see, 4, 5, and 3 being picked in the first 3 slots. Could potentially look at a Timber Saw for Wheel's side. We saw one earlier today from Monkeys from Leviathan, and certainly nice to have up against the Tide Hunter. Also the Bane, who tends to stand still during grip. Take a lot of damage from that. They'll pick up the Brewmaster, kind of similar in nature, but it definitely offers some more control. Cyclone is a really nice way to deal with Tide Hunter in fights. Similarly can deal with Bane. The Boulder Toss, though, probably just as effective as far as dealing with Bane and his ultimate. Really do like the Brew pick from Wheel here. Alright. Could we potentially see VG.J take a page out of Leviathan's book with a core Slardar? Not exactly sure that's what we're going to see. Bane, pretty good, by his lonesome as far as locking down or holding down his safe lane so Slardar can kind of afford to roam. And they're also a pretty good combination together. Nightmare into the Crush, of course. So my assumption is still at this point that we're looking at 3, 4, and 5 for VG.J. Tide, Slardar, Bane. And Jug going to be picked up here by Wheel. Gives him a little bit of everything. Spell immune safe laner that can allow the Night Stalker to kind of roam around. A little bit of the sustain in the push. And some good team fight output as well. Some ability to scale. Purge the Corrosive Haze potentially as well. Couple of very interesting lineups from both sides. Massive AoE purge, really nice to have for the Brewmaster in this one already. And of course, the good old Drunken Haze in lane is going to make whoever's a safe laner for VG.J Storm's life hell. Although Bane may even, garner a Drunken Haze or two, as, he can really bully off the Brew, at least at level 1. Before there's a Drunken Brawler point. And that probably still doesn't come out for a while. Perhaps level 4. Viper's going to be the pick from VG.J Storm. We just talked about Drunken Brawler, and if they put that Viper in the safe lane, yeah, Drunken Brawler not going to be all that great. Of course, they can flex him towards mid, which is, where I really like this VG.J Storm pick. They are still going to have to pick their last pick before Wheels, but at least the bans have to, or this last ban had to be kind of wide open for Wheel. They'll ban the Lifestealer. Makes sense with the Tide and the Slardar kind of as vessels. Also, big physical burst, good against Juggernaut in general. And he's pretty good against the Brewlings as well, having, built-in spell immunity. Alright, well, I am officially a biased caster because I love Terrorblade, but it's Eternal Envy's fault, guys. Into the Static Storm, it's a difficult Terrorblade game. However, you know, the Brewmaster, you know, specifically the Fire Panda, can be bursted very quickly with some big physical damage. And of course, Corrosive Haze synergizing extremely well. You've got Viper, Tide, who are two great frontliners. So makes a lot of sense to have a Terrorblade this game. You know, not a hero that's too worried about Night Stalker running at him unless it's a full unit running at him. Like, just Night Stalker alone doesn't really threaten the Terrorblade. And there we see kind of the solution to the TB, who's, you know, a very low base HP, very high armor hero for UR. They are going to bring in the Zeus to kind of try and burst him down. It is going to be 747's Viper up against WESG's Zeus in the mid lane. And, you know, there will be a Night Stalker for Wheel's side for the Zeus, but there's also a Bane for VG.J. So feels like Ryoya, you know, he was shut down pretty hard last game. Feels like he should have a much better time in this one. It is game 3, guys. Semifinals here of stage 1 of the Galaxy Battles 2 NA qualifiers. 1,500 DKP minus, you know, Dota points, whatever you want to call them, championship points up for grabs at this major. It'll be 16 teams participating. Still, though, VG.J or Wheel, they need to win this series, win their next series, win another series. They need to win 4 series to make it to the major. So, still a long and grueling road ahead. However, you know, this is laying the foundation for both sides. Just make sure I put the in-game overlay on here. And get to work. Nox looked really good on his Tidehunter last game. His Omni wasn't bad in game 1. He was up against the Snake King Doom, so pretty rough matchup as far as that goes. Really like the Viper pickup from Storm's, VG.J Storm's side. See how it pans out for 747 in this one. The 5th pick Zeus for WESG up against the Yawar Terrorblade. It should be slated to have a good game as well. Look at this hero, man. He loads out with 34% physical resistance. Incredible. Snake King and Flea hanging around bottom lane. And Flea does have the boots first. Snake King holding a skill point. Maybe if they think they can net first blood, he'll skill a gush, but probably rather unlikely. Moose, QM, all going to move down towards the rune, and it seems as if the Dire side will back away. Even 747 forced away now as they make a united movement. But Flea will snag the southern rune from right under their noses. And so we'll still trade 2-2. 747 will get back towards the mid lane, but he will be at a disadvantage as far as the blocks go. Why just having none of these rune shenanigans. And we'll get the wave to be up on his staircase, even using a little bit of creep aggro to drag it back further. And 747 opting for the early corrosive skin, so no kind of nether toxin passive, the old nether toxin, I should say. Looking to do a bit of dewarding with Flea. Doesn't find anything bot lane. For now, he's going to join up with Snake King. Nox going to look to pull away the creep wave. And he's going to get nightmared up, and that'll bring the creep wave right back. As Yawar continues to tank. Meanwhile, I didn't miss first blood. 2-man crush. Going to follow it up. Does QM get brought down here? It doesn't feel like it. In fact, Flea could be in a little bit of trouble. And salving up is the Juggernaut. So something I failed to mention in the draft screen about the Juggernaut is, yeah, he doesn't care about Kraken Shell. Blade Fury pretty damn good against Tide early on, so that'll net them a kill. still last hitting very respectably as Yawar, despite having a Brewmaster in this lane. And that is kind of the merits of having Stan King Bane early on, is that he still can body him out of lane, or at least force the Drunken Haze onto himself on the Bane. Flea over near the Arcane Rune is going to pick that up. He's only level 1 though, so I'm not sure how much use he can make of this rune as far as, you know, rotating towards the mid lane or anything of that nature. As Moo's going to deny up a range creep away from snaking. Has been a rough early go. Why just down on the low ground could be a little bit vulnerable to a rotation in from Flea, but Flea, again, no sprint available to him. Two levels in the corrosive skin, just basically wanting to eat the arc lightning on purpose in order to harass the Zeus. Cheeky build from 747. I'm gonna just forego the Nether Toxin for now. And just continually refreshing the corrosive skin. He will have his bottled ferried out now, and top lane Moose and Stan King getting into a little of a scuffle. Turk going to take some damage from snaking. QM will look to back the Tidehunter away, and in fact he's going to get trapped up, and Blade Fury is going to be there, and snaking should survive this, but perhaps only barely. He does have 4 magic wand charges. Flea's still looking to find that level 2 and should be able to do so with this bounty rune, or at least these 2 bounty runes. Derp going to run into a Slithering Crush, and now sprinting forward with his level 2 is Flea. He needs to get out of range of this kinetic field and can't. We'll get the crush off though, and the kinetic field will expire. Now Derp in trouble. One more right click needed, and it will be there. Flea is going to find him. Nicely done by the Slardar player. And he'll have another bounty rune on the north side as a reward. Meanwhile, Rioya going to be aggressed upon in this mid lane momentarily, it seems, as first nighttime is going to yield a kill on this Viper. Despite having the corrosive skin, he should end up dropping. Does get the stick off though. Throws a right click in. Stan King with a brain sap will get the return kill. Now rolling through with a 3-man crush is Flea. He will get glimpsed back, however, and Onox will survive for it. It's going to be 2 for 1 in the mid lane, as they do get the Night Stalker but lose both the Bane and Viper. Clarity up is Flea. Deeping into the shrine for VG.JS as Rioya takes his first spill. Still, though, heavily dominated is the CS by the Dire side here, 5 minutes in. And the major gap, you know, I talked about Tidehunter, you know, being kind of a Necrophos slash Timbersaw, in that to some extent what he does is just kind of shove your wave under your tower. And QM, he's had a bit of a rough time, it seems, as far as CS goes on the Juggernaut under his tower. So he's, you know, about 60% of the way to the CS that's been generated by Yawar. So mid lane, VG.JS in a lot of trouble here. He's going to get crushed up, and coming up the hill with a couple of right clicks is Rioya. Now Moose could be in trouble as he's Viper struck up. Does have the Hunter in the Night Note though, so moving pretty quickly. Phase Boots are there as well, and he will make it back to safety. But they get the all-important VG.JS Zeus kill. And Yawar free farming in this early game. Going to pop up the meta. Get to work on the tower alongside his siege creep here at 5 minutes in. And with the Drunken Haze coming through is Onox. Still, though, not going to deter this push just by his lonesome. And they do at least see the Juggernaut in the bottom lane, so feeling like they can continue. Now they're chasing for Derp as well. Flea runs out of the sprint here, but they just need vision for the crush, and yeah, Flea will find himself a killing spree. Meanwhile, Yawar gets about half the HP of this tower down in the top lane with that meta. And continuing to farm away is Snaking. 30 CS for this Tide. Meanwhile, Noobcaster misses a kill. Night Stalker rotates into the top lane. But they actually lose the Brewmaster. 3v1. Yeah, Sunder used. And seemed to work very well. And Yawar just playing extra confident in this top lane. He's going to get hazed up, though, and Void will slow him down. Pops off the reflection, level 1, and will catch a thunderclap to the face. YJ's going to die in the meantime. And the Terrorblade will end up dropping. Has the treads Aquila, though. And, you know, still the most farmed hero in the game. Still a really nice pickup for VG.J Storm. But they lose YJ's in the meantime. And this Zeus, who is meant to be the Terrorblade solution, is rather low as far as farm goes. Crush, and well, they had a Soul Ring Ravage, but you know, not sure that was quite enough to kill off the Jugger. As mid lane, Crippling Fear and the Void go out just as nighttime expires there, right before 8 minutes. He's got 14 wand charges, though, does 747, and perhaps they can actually kill off the Night Stalker here. With the Gush, couple more right clicks. No, they can't. He'll make it back to base. And, you know, Ravage could have netted them a kill, but they'll hold it. Perhaps allow them to push a tower here shortly, the threat of it at least. As YJ's going to grab himself a bounty rune and make his way to grab another. Went for the max bolt build against the Terrorblade. Makes a lot of sense. Just as much burst damage as possible. Flea has a double damage rune. I'm going to get to work on the mid lane. Plop down a ward behind the tier 1 as well. And it looks like the Radiant thinking about wrapping here, but they haven't assembled as a unit yet. They don't have the Brewmaster split, although he is coming in now. And with the Drunken Haze, 747 going to entirely soak the Omni Slash. He gets the Viper Strike off, and Thunder God's Wrath will end up killing him. It is a full 5-man rotation from Wheel. They don't expend the Primal Split, though. They're certainly still able to fight. However, that is a TP from the Brew, so he will be split from his comrades for the next little bit. 747 could be in a little bit of trouble here. Bottom lane, yeah, glimpse back into the Blade Fury, and likely to be taken out here. Gets the Brain Sap off, and the Ravage actually flying through from Snaking as well. He'll kill off the Disruptor. Thunderclap does not kill Stan King, who makes it away, so Kings stick together. Snaking going to expend the Ravage for Stan King. We saw him hold it on the Night Stalker mid lane. Gets the Disruptor kill here, but perhaps more importantly, prevents the Juggernaut from getting any sort of momentum in this one. And Snaking will get back to cutting the wave. He'll just hang around, wait for QM to, you know, walk close where he anchor smashes, and as soon as QM sees that anchor smash is used, he'll back out. Meanwhile, Yawar's made his rotation down to the bottom lane to assist in this push, and doesn't even feel the need to use meta here to bring down this tier 1. So, Tidehunter, man, he's the new Timbersaw. He just sits in your lane, tanks the creeps, and has his wave constantly beat on your tower while you try to last hit. Ryoya mid lane, no points in the Nether Toxin, has the Viper Strike available though. And rotating through his Flea, looking for the Crush, trying to bait out the Blade Fury, and is unable to do so. The Crush hits on the Creep Wave. Stan King may be in trouble here. Darkness not available for the Night Stalker, but the Glimpse is available for the Disruptor, and Stan King going to be brought down. No Ravage to save him this time. Speaking of Ravage, Snaking hanging around here. And TP inbound from QM will force back Yawar's hand. Flea finding some space in the top lane, looking to eclipse that all-important level 6 milestone. And a 404 build from Ryoya just doesn't feel like 3-button Viper, excuse me. Wants the old 2-button Viper. We already talked about the merits of Corrosive, and feels like you always have to max poison attack just the way it scales, especially with the CD. Smoke up bot lane. It seems to be the destination for Stan King and 747. As snaking. Oh, they see the smoke coming and the pings. QM desperately trying to make it back to base now. Stan King rolling through. Does he get the spin off? He does, but they have the grip there. And Snaking has a Ravage if need be as well. He'll get the Omni Slash off, but the bounces, I mean, they'll only delay the inevitable. Nightmare will come through. Stan King's in trouble, however, and perhaps Snaking a little far out as well. They are going to glimpse back the Viper. Now the Primal Split will fly out. Ryoya fairly tankily. They Cyclone up the Tidehunter, and Reflection going to come out from Yawar, but seems like they will let the Viper fall. And we talked about it in the draft screen. Cyclone is just a great way to deal with Tide in team fights. And we see it working out here. Primal Split, though, is expired now. And perhaps the Night Stalker in trouble. Flea going to run right by him. And Moose will continue to the north, drop down a ward. And meanwhile, Skirmish breaking out. YJS in trouble. And they'll get some revenge for their fallen 747 Viper. But perhaps more importantly, will continue to do work into this bottom tier 2. Ryoya going to return himself to mid lane, continue to farm away here, working on a Hurricane Pike seems to be the plan for him. And has the Viper Strike available. There's no Primal Split, they know that. And with the Corrosive Haze, they'll make quick work of this Brewmaster. Night Stalker running in terror. And usually he'd be the one committing it. Tier 2 in the meantime taken out by Yawar bottom lane, and Tier 1 in the mid lane vulnerable. As Yawar rotates through. His Metamorphosis soon to expire here, but Snaking and Ryoya, they will take down the tower mid lane in the meantime. 747 the one to pick up the last hit. QM looking to find a trade here top lane. Dire do have a glyph available. We'll see if they pop it here and look to defend this. They will just show Snaking, and that'll back QM off.
Soldier's fortune.
And VG.J looking strong in this one. Have the blink available now. Blink forward. Going to force out the Blade Fury, but no one flanking from below. They will reveal the blink from Flea, who has a great timing on it considering his position. But they have taken already three towers, excuse me, from VG.J's side. So a lot of kind of team-oriented gold coming their way. Part of the merits of the Terrorblade pick. Terrorblade with the Treads, Dragonlance, Aquila, Yasha. So very stat-heavy build to this point. Man sitting on 25 armor in strength and agility treads. Stan King going to be silenced up. Crippling Fear. Void will cancel the TP as well. They'll throw a Terrorblade Illusion, but it doesn't look like that'll scare anyone off. Jump forward, though. The Crush just might. Hits onto 2. Corrosive Haze will be there. Snaking has a Ravage available if he wants to use it here. Static Storm will be there. And Ryoya taking a lot of damage to the Jug as well as these Brewlings. But the Ravage now connects onto 3. Ryoya still surviving. Boulder Toss up to the high ground. They will be able to kill him off with the Jugger. Meantime, the Night Stalker taken out on the south side. Cyclone up onto the Tidehunter, and Flea has a blink available. He hits a Crush. It's only under the Jug as the Brew does TP out, but QM should be in trouble here. Grip even expended, and why not? And they'll take him out. Brewmaster will find himself a regen rune for his troubles, but only losing the Viper for 3 wheel heroes. Certainly VG.J 4 wheel heroes, excuse me, must be content with what they grab out of the mid lane. It'll be 1,200 net experience going their way, 800 net gold, and you know, you can increase both of those by roughly 500 or so with this Roche being taken down. So generally you'd expect the Viper to have the second life, but you know, 747 being dead and TPing towards the bot lane. Terrorblade will pick it up. And he is the most farmed hero in the game for Yawar. Working on the Manta isn't far off, just needs the recipe. Couple hundred gold on top of that. 747 did go for the Force Staff before the Dragon Lance. And has been kind of caught in a Static Storm, so see how if that pays dividends. Stand King 15 seconds until the grip is available. He does have vision of this Jugger as he walks down to the low ground. And looks like they are going to try and pincer him in. WESG nearby, however. And Bolt flies out. But over on the west, the Slardar coming through with a 2-man crush. They'll even save the Thunder God's Wrath, because what's the point? They'll end up getting off the grip. Corrosive Haze is going to be there. Flea has a crush and will expend it, and it'll be an easy second kill for 747. Keeping in towards the bot lane, snaking all that's needed to deter any sort of push being queued up by the Brewmaster. 2 heroes on the sidelines, 2 important heroes at that in the Jugger and the Zeus, and Yawar as well as 747 will get to work on the mid lane tower. Meta's up in 5, and they do have Aegis as well for the Terrorblade, but for now, feels like they should be able to take this tier 2 without major contest. Everyone, though, is up, and they do have a Blink Clap split. Jump forward, Clap will connect onto 2. Nice Force Staff, and the Sunder going to come out from Yawar. They get a big, well, not a big Omni Slash necessarily. Still only level 1. Ryoya, though, looks like he will end up falling for this. Meta was popped, and the Slardar is rotating in. Stand King kind of out of position here, and the Brewlings will be able to bring him down, it seems. He'll Nightmare himself defensively for the moment. Now Stay King rotating through. Does have the Ravage available. He'll connect it onto 3. They'll take 2 kills almost immediately. No, YJS still surviving, actually. Static Storm does come out. Glimpse back. And YJS, yeah, it looks like for now he'll make it. And so the Ravage and the Meta expended here in the mid lane, and they only get the Brewmaster while losing Stand King and 747. They should get this tier 2, though, with the remaining duration of Meta. Yawar will back himself to safety.
Clear as clean water.
Manta completed up by Yawar. Can feel a little bit more safe in those fights going forward. 10k net worth, and it is a 12k lead here. For VG.J. YESG showing briefly in the mid lane. Now Force Staff down to low ground. Sunder is there from Yawar. Lovely play. Wasn't even his Force Staff, and now they're going to jump forward for a little bit more onto the Brewmaster, who's actually crushed up here and does not have the split available with the Corrosive Haze. They take him down quickly. Derp could be in trouble too. Yawar still has Aegis hanging around here. Snake King absolutely unkillable on the Tide. One more right click with the Corrosive Haze. The Terrorblade finds the kill onto the Disruptor. Meanwhile, Crush is going to find the Night Stalker. They get the buyback out from the Disruptor. And a lovely play. Glimpse back, though, onto the Tide. And buyback from the Brewmaster. Snake King just able to blink away, however, beyond the glimpse. And still Aegis in hand for this Terrorblade. He'll pop the Manta, try and get to working. 2-man crush comes out from Flea, and they get the Force Staff onto Ryoya as well. Out of the Static Storm, they'll kill off the Disruptor. It's a dieback. Fighting on the front lines, the Brewmaster, but he's all by his lonesome, and that'll essentially be a wasted Primal Split. Omni Slash right into the fray from QM. He won't get crushed up, though, as he's able to make his way back out. But Flea, well, he's waiting for it. The Nether Toxin is there. No Drunken Brawler dodge, and now jump forward. Ravage finds 2, and GG is called. As with Aegis expended there, VG.J Storm breach base and take the series win in 21 minutes. And 8 games, who? VG.J Storm, looking perhaps most sharp in all 3 games of this series in the last one. And definitely showing some mental fortitude here. Ryoya had a much better time on the Viper. And Flea just making tons of space for his squad. 0 deaths on the 4-position Slardar. 5-0-12. And just a 14-minute blink dagger is what allows him to get all of that done. Yawar, one of the easiest games of his pro career for sure in the last little while. As he just absolutely skyrocketed all game long, and no one even within arm's distance of Yawar by game's end. Till then, guys, it's been a lovely day. Very pleased to cast this bit of Dota for you. We've got some more Galaxy battles coming up in North America tomorrow night, starting at 5 p.m. EST. So be sure to follow at Beyond the Summit on Twitter for all the times where the channel is live. And these qualifiers will continue forward. It is a double elim, guys, so Wheel not eliminated just yet. We'll hear from them again tomorrow as they fight for their tournament lives in the lower bracket. But I hope you enjoyed it. Today, guys, VG.J Storm going to move on to the grand finals of Stage 1 of this NA qualifier. If they're able to win that, they'll join Optic and Complexity in Stage 2. It's MRP here, guys, on behalf of Beyond the Summit. I hope you guys have enjoyed the cast and hope you continue to enjoy your Saturday night. See you soon. If you want to know all the times when I go online, you can follow me at MRP Dota on Twitter. Appreciate it, guys. MRP signing out.